Zacama Primal Calamity is a Naya-colored big ramp deck with the goal of achieving as much mana as possible to slam down herself and other big baddies that we have in the deck to just be an overwhelming force of just raw power and other keyword abilities onto these big dumb creatures to help secure a really fast game. You just overrunning with the strongest things at the table. Zacama herself is 6 mana and Naya for a 9/9 Elder Dinosaur. Vigilance, Reach, Trample. When she enters the battlefield, if you cast it, untap all lands you control. And then 3 activated abilities that either deal 3 damage to a target creature, destroys an artifact or enchantment, or gains you 3 life. This is how we will be utilizing board stabilization for all of the other big creatures throughout the deck that we will be ramping into as fast as we can to help achieve our victory. Zacama is able to untap mana off of her casting into the battlefield that then can be followed up with just another big dumb threat to help secure our win and just to have the biggest thing down in play. It's a very simple idea behind it. Of our big threats that we have in this deck, some notable highlights is Atali, Primal Conqueror, who just gives you buttloads of extra card advantage on Enter the Battlefield and can sometimes just become a poison damage dealing game ender. Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger, who is just able to eliminate a large portion of any library from somebody that is then less answers that they have in their deck to help solve your problems, and is just also a big dumb colorless idiot. Atlapalani Nest Tender, while not the biggest creature in the deck, ensures that we can get to our big creatures faster. If Atla can come down early, the eggs can die in combat and then be flipped into a variety of the other big creatures that we've seen so far. And a 2-card pair combo of Bruna the Fading Light and Gisela the Broken Blade. The two of them by themselves are pretty okay as standalone pieces. Their standout trait, though, is that on the battlefield together, they become melded onto the backside as Brisella, Voice of Nightmares, who is able to lock out opponents from casting spells of a certain mana value and is just a big spaghetti princess of keywords. How are we going to be reaching all of these big creatures? We need tons of mana acceleration. And while we have a variety of them that are in creatures and artifact rocks, we are also going to be trying to utilize as many land ramping capabilities as possible. Zacama's big ability of being able to untap lands on Enter the Battlefield, if you've cast it, which is going to be most of the time, we want to ensure that we have lots of lands down in play, so that when she comes down into play, we can either float extra mana as she comes in, or we just have tons of extra mana so that we can follow her up with another big threat. And this is capitalized most prominently using a variety of these mana doubling and sometimes tripling effects. If you have any of these down in play, Zacama can allow you to float your extra lands in response to her Enter the Battlefield trigger, and then those lands untap, and you've just now net positived on any of the mana that you need to then follow up into more spells. All of this mana acceleration means that we need to have these kinds of cards in our hand ready to go. So we're going to be using a variety of creature tutoring and card drawing effects that either help us put creatures directly into our hand, or other pieces like Tooth and Nail and See the Unwritten, that with our extra mana that we have available, they kind of act as creatures in our hand that we just grab from the top or in our library as a whole. Apart from these pieces then, the rest of our build is filled out with a variety of support and protection that allows us to keep our big creatures down in play once they have landed. The biggest problem with playing the humongous big battlecruiser effects is that if you are the biggest threat at the table with the biggest power and toughness board presence, I should say, you'll be targeted, and all of your creatures will be trying to be they'll be targeted as fast as possible with spot removal and wraths and things of that nature, so keeping them safe as long as possible to get in as much combat damage as we can is crucial. Rounding out then is a variety of effects that give us some card advantage, means of extra speed, and power and toughness boosts, and other just general purpose good effects that help us utilize our deck to its maximum potential. And then a variety of our own things of wraths, spot removal, and wraths and spot removal. I'm not sure I was going with that there. Pieces in here that help us keep the board clear of other big creatures or nasty enchantments or artifacts, especially like other Oblivion Ring effects. Even though Zacama herself has the ability to blow up artifacts and enchantments, it's nice to have these other pieces on standby just in case Zacama is not down in play. Our mana base is then filled out with a collection of cards that you would expect within the Naya colors to help us achieve all of our colors as quickly as possible. Some notable highlight lands, though, is a couple of colorless ones. Inkmoth Nexus, just as a land that can become a surprise creature that with other abilities in the deck that can boost power and toughness, we can sometimes get through with some sneaky infect. And Sanctum of Eternity, that can act as a combo piece with Zacama. If you have the capability to generate a certain amount of mana with Zacama, you're able to bounce her back to your hand and then recast her using the mana you floated. This will then trigger her to untap your lands again and then produce you more mana. I believe you need at least 13 to go net neutral, and then anything higher than that is mana positive, so that then gives you infinite colored mana, or just infinite mana just in general, that can then be applied at minimum into Zacama's own activated abilities, or anything else you have down in play that allows you to filter mana into it for some kind of benefit. This is a way to produce infinite mana, and that is the Jumanji Storm. Big Naya Stompy is a classic of the Commander format. All you just need to do to be able to achieve your goal is accelerate your mana and play the biggest creatures on the battlefield. It can be a ton of fun, very simple and easy to pick up as a very good beginning outlet when it comes to learning how to play big Stompy, battlecruiser, big creature, big mana, all of those types of strategies. And with a deck like Zacama in specific, who has a ton of versatility in the outlets that she's able to have with her activated abilities and the untapping mana, there is a lot of different directions you could do in a build using her as a commander. And just this is tons of fun. If you've ever wanted and are interested to play a very fun color combination that allows you to just be the biggest threat problem at the table, Naya, Zacama, Jumanji, this is the way to go. It's very fun. We enjoy playing this deck a lot. Thank you so much for watching this super quick deck tech. I hope you've enjoyed. My name is John from the MTG Thoughtcast. We'll see you again next time for the super quick deck tech.